that feeling that you've just been not wanting to have breasts. You've had, how long have you had those feelings for?
I mean, since puberty, because when I was younger, I didn't really, I knew I was different than my brother, but I didn't really feel different. I don't really look different. I'm flat like him. Like my mom can cut my hair if I want. Like I could have short hair. Like, so I'm not really different from him. It didn't really register with me that our bodies were different, that my voice was different, anything until I hit puberty and then I started developing breasts and my hips started to like grow and everything. And I was just like, I would cover up. I wore multiple sports bras to flatten my chest, and then I would wear
Mm.
hoodies, big baggy hoodies and t-shirts that would just cover it up because I didn't want the girls in my class to see that I was transforming into one of them. Like I
Mm.
wanted to be seen as a boy to them, but my body was
Mm.
betraying me. My body was changing in a way that was
Mm.
just, it felt so wrong to me.
Mm.
And I felt like I should have been doing all the things my brother was doing. I should have been shopping in the section where he was shopping. I should, like, when we would go shopping for clothes, I was like, why do I have to go over here and look at girly clothes? Why can't I wear the clothes that my brother's wearing, you know?
Yeah.
So it was, puberty was like miserable.
Oh man, I am I'm really sorry to hear that you've had that discomfort, and I guess a huge part of me just is really relates to some of the things, some of your story. I mean, not, to the extent of where you've gone on a journey and transformed, but yeah, I've definitely had gender identity or gender expression challenges and things for years. And I mean, the funny thing is like when you're young and not influenced by society or like your community, that's kind of like the way you express yourself seems to be like you're very in tune to like what you really are, like in your purest form in a way. I just remember having I have a brother who's 10 years older than me. I like my hair was like short and cut like a boy. Like it wasn't just like a cute pixie cut. It was like cut like a boy. And yeah, when I let my eyebrows grow out, I totally look like him, and it's pretty funny. And I would like dress in his clothes until I was in 5th grade. And I was, and I would play with the boys, and
Mhm.
I wouldn't necessarily say I was into boy things because nowadays, more and more women are getting into video games and sports and things. So, I mean, I don't think that even matters. But back then,
Yep.
I was just like considered to be like such a tomboy. And yeah, I've always had this kind of conflict with gender expression and just had really, I didn't realize I was different until other people started saying things, like people at my school would say really derogatory things, which I am not ready to repeat on
Yeah.
here. And from like students to like PE teachers, just really inappropriate. And we can talk about it, off air one day. But and I'm just kind of thinking, wait a minute. When I look back and I'm like, the people that said these to me are like the most butchiest women. And I don't mean that in like a derogatory way. There's, like they're tomboys themselves. It's like when they
Yeah.
saw me, they hated me because maybe they hated themselves, some kind of internalized homophobia.
Mhm.
But when you're young, you don't understand that. And I didn't like that feeling of feeling isolated. And so then I just remember just trying, like after that, like trying to be like more feminine just so I can like hide
Yeah.
and and just, oh gosh, I just see older pictures of myself where I'm like in a dress wearing high heels, and it's just ew, like why did I do that to myself?
Yeah.
But yeah, I look back and go, man, I just really tortured myself because I wanted to blend in and not feel isolated. But yeah, I guess I've from hearing your stories, you've and watching some of your TikToks that you've had some moments of what you'd call overcompensation.
Oh yes. Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah.
I used to, I mean, okay, so like I went through the tomboy phase because that was like what made me feel most comfortable. And I would have stayed in that phase forever. Like if I could have, I would have dressed tomboyish forever. Like I did the same thing when I was a kid. I would put on plays for my parents all the time and wear my brother's clothes because I had to play a boy character. So like I have to wear his clothes. It just wouldn't make sense if I didn't. No. So I would wear his clothes all the time and I loved it. I freaking loved it. But uh I realized that the girls didn't want to be around me. And that was the thing, is like I wanted the girls to like me. Because I was also attracted to girls too. On top of feeling like a boy trapped in a girl's body. Um, but I realized like, okay, well, if I want them to like me and want to hang out with me and fit in, I need to be like them. So I started wearing makeup. I started doing my hair. Um I did go from a pixie cut or like a faux hawk to I grew my hair out. Um I started
Mm,
wearing more feminine clothing. I
mm.
would mimic my friends and copy their mannerisms. And so I started doing things with my hands like they would, and I would walk like they would, and like try and be feminine and try to fit in. And I looked the part. I did. I was a very attractive woman. I was curvy and I was, rocking the makeup and everything. And I was miserable
Mm,
because that was not me. It was like putting on a costume every day so that
mm.
people like me, or that I would be accepted, and I wouldn't look like I'm queer. I would just look like everybody else. I'd look normal,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
it was a facade. It was fake.
Yeah, I definitely identify with that. And I actually, when I was decluttering, threw out 99% of my dresses because they were just in my closet. I'm like, I'm not gonna wear this. And there's like one dress from like a wedding, so it has like some sentimental value, but for the
Mhm.
most part, whenever I've had to like wear a dress in the last few years, when I try to explain it to people, it's not just a drudgery or an inconvenience. It really feels like I'm a man in a woman's body that's doing drag, except I don't enjoy drag and I'm not at Hamburger Mary's. It's just
Yeah.
like, yeah. I mean, of course, I love seeing drag queens and stuff. But yeah, it would just wasn't me. But anyways,
Mhm.
so yeah, that's really interesting. How we do how we do have like similar experiences. And you mentioned earlier that you go for it, you're like all or nothing. And I have like the personality where I kind of like meander, look into things, but I don't want to do things unless I'm like really sure, because I'm afraid of making a mistake. And
Mhm.
just like as a side anecdote, so you guys, I was Emmett and I were collaborating on a website,
EmmettPreciado.com.
and we were we were transferring a domain from this hosting site was like latching onto his website domain, and we were trying to transfer it on to like a different hosting site. And I have a little experience with that, and definitely not an expert by any means. And we were collaborating on it, and I was getting stressed. I was trying to show I wasn't stressed. And then within the process, I was like, okay, let's forward this domain from this company, which I'm not going to name, but
Mhm.
and then cuz I just the stress of it kind of I got lost in that stress. And then and in your clarity, you're like, "Wait a minute. No." Well, you're a lot nicer. You're like, "Wait, isn't this is what we wanted to do, right? We want to get rid of this company, and then we just don't just forward it. Let's actually properly transfer it." Even though it was more work and I didn't mind doing the work, but I just kind of like got lost in the chaos of that process. But I just noticed it was a very I noticed at that time you had a certain kind of clear, direct thinking. Like, okay, once we committed to like doing this, don't get lost in the chaos and like do something else. And so that's kind of what I gather. Once you commit to something and going through this process, becoming a trans person is like a huge commitment. And I while I was
I
like,
wouldn't say becoming a trans person because
oh,
I've always been a trans person,
oh,
but
okay, I'm sorry.
like
Okay.
transitioning,
Transitioning.
yeah,
Okay.
that's a commitment, I feel like.
Okay. Okay.
I didn't mean to
So,
interrupt you, but like I just anytime
no.
I see like a teaching moment, I try to jump in just so it like
Yeah. Yeah,
because I
no,
know
no.
it could I mean, I'm one of those people like I don't really get offended by stuff because I know when people like mean well and stuff, but I
Yeah.
know other people down the line, I would hate for you to get like chewed out by someone else who's like not super like patient or get
Accommodating.
offended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, no. This is good. Well, in that case, so gender dysphoria, and just so I can understand, gender dysphoria and knowing you're trans, it's not always inclusive. Like
Well,
those things, or they or they can just be different.
I mean, um I know that there are trans people who don't have gender dysphoria. Um,
Okay.
me personally, I do have gender dysphoria, so that's why I transitioned because I was extremely uncomfortable in my body. Um,
Okay.
but there's other trans people who they don't have gender dysphoria, or it's very like small, like it doesn't impact them enough to be like, well, I want to start hormones, I want to get surgery. And then
Mm.
there's others like me who our dysphoria is so bad that we're so uncomfortable in our body that we do pursue the hormones and the surgeries.
Okay. So I guess if anyone's listening to this and they are questioning, what's a good way for them to explore that questioning? Because I know we talked about a second ago, you were just so sure, like, I want to do this, I'm going to get it done. That's kind of your all or nothing
Mm-hmm.
mentality. How about for someone else who's just not sure? Like, what would you kind
I would
of.
say honestly experiment with your gender expression because for me um I was the most comfortable when the feminine parts of my body were covered. I was the most
Mm,
comfortable. Like I wore a binder and I flattened my chest and I walked around. Um, and I would walk around town with a flat chest and I would walk proudly. Like my posture was straight and I would always slouch to cover up, my chest. And I
mm,
would walk around town with a flat chest and that I felt so good. I felt so comfortable. Um, I didn't want to hide. Like I just wanted to be out and like, wow, look at me. I have a flat chest. Everybody, like I felt so good. And then
mm,
I would experiment with, shorter haircuts, or I would wear a beanie. I tried to look more masculine, and the more masculine I looked, the more comfortable I felt, and the more I noticed that my depression would go away, my suicidal
mm.
thoughts would go away. So for me, it was very clear. Also, I was extremely depressed and suicidal for years, and the more feminine I tried to be, the more depressed and suicidal I got. And I know that people will say, well, okay, well, you didn't have to transition. You could have just dressed more androgynous or dressed more masculine. But like
Mm.
for me, it was always my spirit, my soul is male, and it always has been male. And me dressing up as a masculine woman is not me. I'm not a woman. Like my dad, when I came out to him as trans, he was like, why don't you just be a lesbian? Just be a lesbian. Don't transition. Don't change your body. Just go be a lesbian. That's fine. And I was like, but dad, I'm not a lesbian. I'm not a girl. I'm not a girl who likes girls. I'm a boy who likes girls. I'm not gonna dress up in a female body every day and and pretend to be something I'm not.
Mm.
And that's for me. And I also went to therapy to really make sure like this is the route that I'm gonna go and like make sure that I wouldn't regret transitioning.